It is Wednesday, the 19th of September 2018. Behind me here is the Bridges room of Gateshead Civic Centre. It's the main committee room, and I'm actually in here to speak about a planning application at the Planning Committee, which is meeting in about half an hour. And I'm speaking against a planning application to build 10 houses or 8 houses and 2 bungalows on a site next to Sun Hill, the aged older person's housing in Sunnyside. Now, I want the site used for housing, but it's meant to be housing for older people, and this application is actually one for normal 2-up, 2-down housing, so it's not what we wanted the site to be used for. So I'm here to speak against it. So I would therefore ask you to reject this application for 3 reasons. It's out of keeping with the area. There will be a loss of privacy to both existing residents and to new residents. And this is an area which should be used for housing for elderly people. And I would urge that if you're not going to reject it now, then at least have a site visit and particularly look at the difference of the land levels to understand why this application could result in so much loss of privacy. Any questions? So the meeting this morning went reasonably well. One of the things I wanted to do was to get the councillors on the planning committee to come out to the site and have a look at the lie of the land, literally, and they agreed to do that because one of the arguments I had against the application was that if you build on the where they're proposing, or building what they're proposing, where they're proposing, then it will actually mean a lot of privacy is lost at Sun Hill, which is the old people's home there, which is where I've received a lot of concerns from. And I've also made the point that the application was very much out of keeping with what's also in that area. In other words, they want to build 2-storey homes where the other side of the road is single-storey, and typically Gateshead would have rejected an application like that in the past because it's just not in keeping. So why this time are they being different? And the other issue that I raised was that we have consistently argued that that site should be used for housing for older people. And that's more or less been agreed by the council, and or certainly by officers in the past and by the council political leadership. And now we're finding that what is proposed for the site is not housing for older people. It's actually 2-up, 2-down houses, some of them 3 or 4 bedrooms. So that is not what we're after. So the councillors will come out and have a look at it, and that visit will take place sometime in the next 3 weeks. It's early afternoon now, and I've come back to the Civic Centre for a members' seminar, and this one is about tackling poverty. Now, what I hope this is not going to be about is just throwing a load of benefits at people, because I don't think that tackles poverty at all. What we need to be doing is giving people the skills and the self-confidence, or helping them to develop the self-confidence to be able to climb their way out of poverty. In effect, give a helping hand, a hand up, but rather than a hand out. It is rather breezy out here. There's a gale force warning, and I've seen various branches off trees as well. Right, the meeting is now over, and I learnt something quite interesting, that the council is setting up a scheme to collect fresh produce, which is from wholesalers on the Team Valley, which is almost toward, it's at the point where it's only got 1 or 2 days shelf life left on it, so the wholesalers can't really sell it on to the retailers. So the council is planning to take it off their hands and put it into some kind of scheme which is a bit undefined yet, about which can then sort of convert it into something useful, some useful food products which can go to people on lower incomes, or it can actually go directly to people on lower incomes. So I suggest that, it may need to go to organisations and charities such as the Comfrey Project in Gateshead, where they have in the past taken some of my surpluses and turned it into food for their community cafe. But what I did suggest was that they should expand the scheme so that it can take people's surplus garden produce, because I get lots of people who contact me with they've got sack loads of apples and plums from their gardens, and they're asking me if I want them for my own self-sufficiency project or to feed to the goats, or otherwise it would go to the tip. So I think there's a lot of scope there for collecting something which would otherwise be wasted and turning it into useful food products for local residents. So I'm hoping we've taken that on board. 6:30 in the evening now, and I've come to Whickham for my last meeting of the day, with the wind still blowing, and it is the group of people who run Planting Up Whickham. So it's just the monthly meeting to make arrangements for planting up the flower beds and so on for the rest of the year. Well, that's the meeting now done, and we've sorted out a couple of dates. One is the 14th of October, where we will be stripping the beds on on Church Green, and then the week after, the Sunday after, we will be planting them up with the winter bedding. So that's all done, and also discovered a couple of events that are happening this weekend, certainly one of which I'll be hoping to attend.